Hey, this is Brent Leary, live from Austin. Where are we live? Yeah, we're all live here. Live from Austin, Texas. Zoholics 2024. It's hot out there, but it's nice and cool in here. And I'm surrounded by the SMB folks, the people. Let's see, Ramon Ray down at it.
Ramon Ray, publisher of zoneofgenius.com. Good to be here. Thanks, Brent.
Of course, Anita Campbell is right next to me here.
Anita Campbell, founder of Small Business Trends. Great to be here.
Ivana Taylor, and I always say your name right. I just want you to know that.
And thank you for that. Ivana Taylor, publisher of DIYmarketers.com.
And I'll do your official intro if you're okay with that.
Yeah, right.
He is the cold one, the bold one, John Cold Rice Lawson.
Yeah. John Lawson, CEO, Cold Rice Media.
So we're all here taking a little bit of a break to kind of maybe share some of our thoughts of the morning activities here at Zoholics. We went through the keynote, had a special track for analysts and media. Lots of things that we could talk about. I'm going to go right to the I think the biggie, CRM for everyone. Whoever wants to, throw some thoughts out there about what they think about CRM for everyone. That announcement.
I'll jump in. This is Ramon. Listen, I think that CRM for everyone, for those who don't know our core small business audience, this does not mean CRM for everyone. Your mama, your papa, your daddy, your aunt, your uncle, and niece and nephew. Does not mean that. In the context of this announcement, I think the challenge that Zoho uncovered is that for the larger corporations, that sales and marketing team historically have CRM. What do you do about engineering? What do you do about people in other parts of the department? And so Zoho saw a need to say, hey, listen, we can enable you to have your CRM stack, and other people in that department, other people in your office and your team can leverage the power of CRM as well. So I think this shows everybody that Zoho, again, is intuitive. Zoho is looking. Zoho is always seeking to expand. Second thing I'll add before I be quiet, I know you want me to be quiet now, but I'll be quiet after one more thing, is that Zoho is not just extending product line, but they're going deep and adding value to their existing products. Back to you, Brent.
No, back to whoever wants to take that up and talk about it.
So I'll add to that on the depth part of things. In the past, we've seen a lot of announcements from Zoho about, this new app or that new app. And it's raised a challenge for small businesses in particular because you haven't been able to sometimes effectively integrate one app to the next. It's been very challenging for small businesses. And by going deeper and building out more of those integrations and connections as they go deeper, what we're seeing is that the promise of all these apps is now becoming a reality. I mean, we're starting to see that, yes, you can go in and without having to hire an outside developer to do integrations, you're going to be able to use this more broadly across your departments. Different departments are going to be able to use it. They're going to be able to do more things with it. It will connect automatically with other applications, and that's going to be great.
And I'll just go adding on to that right down in the row. From a marketing perspective, what Zoho has done is something that no other platform has done, and that is put the customer at the center of the CRM. If anyone's worked in sales, we all know that salespeople don't like using CRMs.
They don't?
I don't think they do. They feel like it takes them away from serving the customer, that it just wastes a lot of time entering data, doing this, doing that. And I think this speaks to Anita's point, but the real story that came through for me was in one of the presentations, and actually this was the presentation that came to the entire Zoholics audience. They talked about how when we use apps to order food online, it is a fully integrated experience. And I think that's what stood out to me as a small business owner, regardless of whether you have a team of one or a team that has departments. What the Zoho for Everyone has done is really put the most important person to our business at the center, and I really love that. It's all you, John.
Yeah, I think one of the things, like Anita said, just watching them bring out different components all the time, and now being able to see all of those become interactive and giving us a way to get from one to the other and have that shared experience internally is going to help with saving time and ultimately saving money. So I'm pretty excited about those things.
Yeah, I would just say I've been going to a lot of events over the last 2 decades, CRM events. This is the first time I actually heard a vendor say that they're creating CRM for the customer, not for the end user, not for management, for the customer. So I'm so glad that you picked that up because
That
that's
was the most
immediately what I
important
went
thing
to.
to me because, we talk about disruption a whole lot, and there's so many tools and platforms to choose from that I've really been on the soapbox of choosing a platform, not just that meets your cost needs, but that, as Anita said, that integrates. As Ramon said, that helps you work with your team. And of course, as I like to say, that you can afford.
Yes.
So
Always important.
this really does that.
Can we talk a little bit about, I've gone to a lot of these events, and I haven't heard the level of discussion around privacy, about and security, of course, but privacy, and about kind of responsible use for data, and making the broad statement of your data is not our business model. Maybe somebody could talk a little bit
Yeah, I
about
want to
that.
talk,
Okay.
that was the big takeaway for me when he said that, privacy is a fundamental human right. And having that perspective of privacy being such and saying that we do not sell your, data, that's not part of our business model. I mean, that is brilliant. It's also at the same time very forward thinking. When you look at where we are today, it's like, okay, we get it, but they've been talking about that ever since I came, and it just seems so nebulous at first, but now it's so overarching, especially when we're putting together all of these tools into AI. Privacy is definitely an issue now.
You know what? I just want to add to something that you said because, there's a whole statement that we say, and that is if it's free or if it's cheap, you are the product. And I think that is the biggest reason why they keep talking about how important privacy is and the fact that they're a private company for a reason, because another fundamental belief is that software should be of service, not just as a service. And that's what I was excited to hear, because you think that maybe they're justifying their price by selling your data, which that is not the case. And I appreciate them constantly saying that.
Anybody else
Yes.
on that one? Okay. A little bit about no code, low code, pro code. I mean, I've heard a lot of it. Some of the things I've gone through. I know from Small Business Trends, you guys have been using Creator for a while, and you've been creating things.
Yes.
Maybe you could talk a little bit about your thoughts on what they talk about around those three things.
Yes, so one of the flagship products of Zoho is Creator. I think it was one of the early ones, and it was one of the ones we jumped on because we needed a custom solution to run certain processes inside our business. And I looked at various off-the-shelf products, and none of them actually really met what we needed. So we found Zoho Creator. And at first, I was the one who messed around with it, and I'm not a coder by any shape.
I heard otherwise, but okay.
I know
Hey,
just
Brent,
enough to be
I've
dangerous.
heard otherwise too. I don't want to interrupt it here, but I've heard otherwise too. Anita
We can
Campbell,
all attest
she
to
can
that.
go gangster with code. Trust me.
No, I'm very, I commit malpractice with code. But let me tell you this, this category of apps called low code means that you don't actually have to be a coder to use it. You get a set, of building blocks, and you can create something using those building blocks without having to understand that underneath this is this special code called Deluge that Zoho has. Now, if you know that special code, you can do a lot more with it, okay? And you can really customize it. But what we heard here was a lot of talk about pro code, which is kind of relatively new term, I think at least among sort of the general population. What it's saying is there are products that require no coding ability, so no code. There are some that require low code. You just have to know a little bit, and maybe you can train yourself to use those. And then you have this whole set for pro code. And what that means is Zoho is now providing developers with more of the tools that they need to get highly customized, do very specific types of customization for their clients. And I think that's like another level that we're seeing with Zoho. When we heard that, Zoho is a product suite of unique depth and breadth, that was one of the things we heard. This is very true now. It's really, there's something for everyone, no matter what your level is.
All right, AI. Everywhere you go, everywhere you look, you can't escape it. But what about the way that Zoho is approaching it in terms of you don't hear them really talk about AI just to be talking about AI. You'd hear it as a part of all the things that they're putting out there through their apps and through their platforms. Why don't you give your thoughts on how you think their approach to AI is compared to maybe what you've heard before?
Yeah, I think the thing is that, I don't know, there's this thought, is like AI a platform or is it an application? And the real answer is it's both, right? And what we're seeing now, it's like, okay, we're in this AI era, right? But we were talking earlier, me and Brent, and I was telling him about this. It's like, if you remember what it was like to when we went through the mobile era, where everything was mobile, and we're a mobile-first company, and start thinking mobile first. And that happened to last maybe, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and then mobile became table stakes. And AI is very quickly becoming table stakes. So this year, everybody's talking about AI this, AI that, but I guarantee you next year, or at least maybe give it a year and a half. I mean, that's going to be table stakes. Everything is going to have an AI component.
And John, you can see in that whole announcement that even Raju, as he was speaking about, even though I think there was a press release and other things today, it's in the headline, but he was even lessening it down, meaning echoing what you're saying, that type of, he was saying, let's calm down, everybody. It's going to be infused in everything we're doing. We're not going to say, so I think that's interesting, one, on that. And then two, though, I think it is, again, going back to Zoho and what they're doing for small businesses and larger companies in general, is just infusing it in the product. You don't have to think about it. It's the second quote that Raju said, that customers shouldn't have to know they're using AI. It shouldn't be like, hey, Brent, did you use water today? I mean, we don't even think about it, right? We flush the toilet, brush our teeth, even though those things in combination don't sound good, but still, we use water so much, we don't think about it. So I think AI is like that, John, very astutely. I think that's the big thing in that, we're using it, but for the small businesses out there, those we reach, you don't have to code it and hire teams and all that. The brands you use, they're going to be quickly infusing it into your day-to-day activities, and that's, for most of us, good enough for what we need to do. Just like the coder here who doesn't code Anita is good enough for what she needs to do. Back to you, Brent.
Back to me, Brad. Like a newscast here. It's kind of cool. It's okay with me. One of the things that Schroeder talked about, and I think we've all been around Zoho long enough to kind of see this happening. Their commitment to community, to the communities that they operate in. And I had a recent conversation with Vijay, who's their chief strategy officer, and he mentioned something that just really stuck with me around like why they go to certain communities versus where everybody goes, where the hot places. And he says, what's important for our customers are there. They've got 100 million users. They got millions of customers. And a lot of them are not in the metro areas. They're operating in, where a lot of the small businesses operate, kind of on Main Street. And he said, it's not enough just to be connected to those communities. It's important for us to be rooted in those communities, and that's why they go to places like McAllen and they're setting up operations in those aspects. How important is that to them being able to stay connected and committed to small business, being able to actually go and operate and not just hey, we're there, but I mean, literally set up stakes and become a part of the community?
I'm going to jump in here because I was the one who mentioned about who Zoho is putting first. So this is an underlying theme that I've noticed in this entire first day of Zoholics, is that the real question you have to ask is, who does everyone else put first and who does Zoho put first? So we already talked about them putting the customer first. They put the community first, and they put their employees first. Now, they're not doing this because they are trendy and cool, even though these are all management principles that we learned back in the 90s, but have not implemented. I think one of the important things that Sridhar talked about was that we don't just do this because it's the right thing to do. We do this because it makes us, we don't have to lay off people. So we're a secure employer, and it makes us money. So one of the things that I learned many, many years ago through the data is that doing the right thing and being profitable are not mutually exclusive principles.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, I'm looking at my notes, right? Because he said he was committed to, combating rural privacy, poverty, right? And I mean, and there were 3 principles that he actually laid out. He's like, that's one of the reasons why we stay private, we stay profitable, and we stay out of debt.
Yes.
And those, that just, literally, I wanted to jump out of my seat and be like, yeah,
You should have just done that.
I should have just did that. I mean, but it's just,
It would have been amazing.
well, I don't think everybody understands that, because another thing he mentioned was that the kind of MO of corporations are to get great valuation for that year and then exit and make it somebody else's problem. There's so much wisdom in what he was talking about that it really made me sit back, and just contemplate what it's like to have your business have a social responsibility embedded in the whole, thing. And that was really important.
Anything that makes you sit back and not say anything, I'm all for. Just putting that out. Anita, what do you think about all that?
Well, I mean, you see the commitment in the way Sridhar Vembu actually went to India, into a very small village, and is supporting that village. I mean, so they don't just talk the talk. I mean, they're living it on every different level, and he's a great example of that. But you've seen that all the way along, from their different, offices they've had in various parts of the world. Well, I know you visited India with Zoho, a year or 2 ago?
Yeah.
And, and that had to be pretty illuminating, wasn't it?
It was. I've been working with Zoho since about 2005, and until I went to India, I thought I really knew a lot about them. I found out I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I did until I was there and saw them operating in their headquarters, home headquarters, and what they're doing with the local folks and the organizations and communities over there. It gave me a whole new perspective and a whole new appreciation for what they do. All right, so I guess we're coming up to the end here. So why don't I ask each to just go down the line and ask you just your last thoughts about what you've seen so far at the event. So, Mr. Lawson.
Yeah, I'm feeling a kinship with the leadership in terms of the direction that they are championing for corporations. It's cool.
And I'm going to spin off of that in saying, I think you asked us, about their commitment to small business. And I'm going to say that the way they operate their business, the way they work through their software, and who they put at the center of their development, such as their employees, such as the customers, they really do walk the talk. And they really do understand, because of all the things that have been covered here today, about the real challenges that small businesses have and how to overcome them and help them.
Yeah, I'll just build off of that, and that, many companies, they might start in the small business arena, and then they get some success, and before you know it, they're moving upstream, right? And they're moving up market. Oh, they're going to go after bigger and bigger companies. And then, before you know it, the small business piece starts getting less and less attention, and, they're really all totally focused on enterprise. And that's something I don't feel at all. I think there's been a tremendous balancing act here where, really there is emphasis on going upmarket and getting to the enterprise market because, bigger and bigger customers are using Zoho. But at the same time, what we see is that commitment, and you see it all the way in terms of the product set, that they have products that are designed specifically for small businesses, not just a scaled down enterprise version. They have pricing that is small business friendly, and they're keeping that pricing. So you see it all across the way, and that's one of the things that really hits home to me, is that commitment really continues.
I think we probably are all in agreement with that last sim in particular. So there's more of the conference to go. We need to get back to it. So thanks for checking this out. We will maybe have some other thoughts after we see what else is in store at Zoholics, but we will see you later. Thank you.
Thanks.